Welcome everyone and all. Welcome to Strawberin0's channel. Today I will be reacting to SsethTzeentach's Deus Ex review. Deus Ex is an absolutely goated game. It's the type of game that will never exist again. I know that statement is kinda ironic because there are new Deus Ex games and I like the new Deus Ex games, mostly for the gameplay. The plot, I think, is so significantly weaker than in the original Deus Ex that it's a shame, but it's a trade-off that had to happen because Deus Ex dips into such schizophrenic and esoteric concepts such as the enemy you fight might actually be people and not some kind of arbitrary evil that needs to be destroyed. I think Deus Ex is 100% a game that cannot exist today in the mainstream market, which is a shame because there are probably people out there who would love it. And as an example to that, I have to bring up Cruelty Squad, because I think the story hits some of the same beats as Deus Ex, while being a complete schizophrenia-fueled nightmare of a acid trip. And they also, funnily enough, kinda share some gameplay elements, like Cruelty Squad is also immersive sim of sorts. But why would I have such an opinion about this game and why is it so goated? Let's see if Seth can bring us up to speed about what happens in Deus Ex.
Hey people, Seth here. Today, I will be covering an older game that, at the time, was considered the best conspiracy simulator on the market, Deus Ex. Looking back now, it was a scarily accurate prediction of a future. Despite being made a full year before the 9/11 attacks, Deus Ex depicted our world in 30 years as an authoritarian dystopia. In other words, they were 30 years off. In this bleak future, there's only the super wealthy and the super fucking poor. The only food available is candy bars and soybeans. The only safe drinking water is orange soda and 10 packs.
Remember kids, drink your sodas. That's what the corporations would like you to do.
Of cigarettes are now strong enough to kill you instantly. For this reason, secondhand smoking is now the preferred method of postnatal abortion. Or, if you care about the environment and want a more eco-friendly solution, you could also try jabbing your ungrateful spawn with a cattle prod, then put them up for adoption in the ocean. Deus Ex is...
Not gonna lie, I kinda forgot there were kids in this game. They appear in a couple of levels only, I think.
It's an amazing game, and I'm glad people pushed me to replay it. You appreciate it more in your man-child years. Anyway, plot. You play as JC Denton. The JC stands for
Jesus Christ Denton. That's such a fucking classic, man. Oh,
two nano-augmented brothers trained from a young age to be elite agents of UNATCO, the United Nations Anti-Terror Coalition, which was founded after terrorists bombed the Statue of Liberty. And as expected, everybody thinks it was an inside job to justify increased surveillance and create a supranational entity that could operate outside and above the jurisdiction of individual countries. This is nonsense.
Crazy. That is such a crazy idea. The purpose
of UNATCO is to protect you and all free citizens of the world from terror, a war on terror, if you will. Your job is to investigate, arrest, and kill terrorists across the world, but not talk to them, because that's how they get you. They get in your head, they start making you ask funny questions, and before you know it, bang, you're a liberal. If
Bruh.
Sight and follow orders without question, you'll go far in UNATCO. Also, the world is suffering an outbreak of infectious disease called the Grey Death, and the only cure for it is a vaccine called ambrosia. Well, it's not really a vaccine. A vaccine would treat you, not temporarily halt progression.
I think, if I remember correctly, this video was made before COVID-19, which is Very topical for this game.
For 48 hours. Did I mention there's not enough vaccine to go around? But just enough to make sure the most important members of our society get it, namely bureaucrats, politicians, and any person with wealth and influence. That's quite a coincidence, isn't it? But don't think on it too much. That's for philosophers. Don't be one of those Greek homos. Problem is, these terrorist groups keep stealing shipments of ambrosia, and Lord forbid, if ambrosia gets into the hands of the poor, I'm gonna have a stroke. It's not a pretty world, JC, but we all gotta make sacrifices. Some more than others. A lot more than others.
Oh my fucking god. Oh. As a citizen of Belgium since like a couple of weeks ago, every time a Congo is mentioned, I need to look the other way around, pretend I didn't hear it. Because otherwise, the great and benevolent country of Belgium would need to take responsibility, and we don't do that in first world countries.
Anyway, I won't spoil too much of a story for you, but let's just say that in Deus Ex, the ruling elite control all of the banking, communications, and biotech industries. They were all in a happy agreement, exploit and steal from everybody else. It was harmony. It was peace.
I don't want to dig in too much and explain, because there are a lot of things to explain with Deus Ex, because I don't know what Seth actually says about it, so I will keep some of my comments for like the end section of the video.
Then one of them said, "We have an incurable virus. Why the fuck do we need the rest of you?" And now they are no longer in a happy agreement. Every secret society, the Illuminati, the Bilderbergs, the Rothschilds, the Bogdanovs, Wu-Tang Clan, they're all in complete turmoil, and it's all a grand conspiracy for control of the modern world, for enacting a new world order. Unfortunately, you're caught up in the middle of all this, and like it or not, your choices and actions will shape the world.
Don't think I won't report this.
For better or worse.
By the way, Denton, stay out of the ladies' restroom. That kind of activity embarrasses the agency more than it does you.
Gameplay. It's very good. There's a fuck ton of controls, but
the gameplay is not very good. Okay, the gameplay is very good, but the combat is very not that good.
They're very good controls. In case you have lost your keyboard since the last video, I recommend getting a new one. The UI records absolutely everything. It's fantastic. You can even add your own notes. Skills are self-explanatory, and as intelligent gamers, you will receive no explanation. Throughout the game, you get assigned to missions from UNATCO, but each location is pretty open, forcing you to investigate and fulfill side objectives in order to progress the main story. You get rewarded for exploration constantly, so there's no reason not to do it. Strangely, the NPCs of Deus Ex have a habit of dropping iPads everywhere containing their banking details and not changing their recovery passwords. Throughout my playthrough, I have encountered not a
I mean that is like the most realistic depiction of fucking modern society I have ever seen, so...
a single person who gives a shit about their financial well-being, leading me to believe that NPCs in this game are actually quite realistic depictions of people living in the first world. Let's talk about
exactly what I fucking said.
Most of your missions send you out to cities. Then you head back to the UNATCO base on Liberty Island. It's actually really nice to visit UNATCO headquarters in between missions. This is pretty much your home. You can talk with your boys, break into closets, hack everyone's computer, and get sexual harassment charges from HR.
I've already reported you once.
UNATCO. We only recruit the best of the best to keep you safe. As Denton, you can use different tools to meet your objectives, depending on whether you want a loud or stealthy entrance, a trigger-happy or non-lethal solution. At the start of a game, you can even choose a starting weapon. Of course, the only correct option is the GEP gun for silent takedowns. You can equip yourself with whatever you
I mean the GEP gun, if you don't pick the GEP gun at the start of a game, you unlock it so fucking late into the playthrough that it's, even if you aren't going to specialize in heavy weapons, it's so worth picking it up.
Get your hands on. Some examples are cattle prods, pepper sprays, and Chinese nanoblades that refold themselves 1,000 times each second, just to flex on the Japanese. You get...
I love the melee in this game only because you don't have to aim it like the ranged weapons. The aiming is so scuffed.
most of your weaponry by stealing shit from other people. You are a bionic superhuman. They can't stop you. Sometimes you'll be forced to pay for certain items or services. This is rarely a problem, since you can get most of your credits by hacking ATM machines. Shooting in Deus Ex isn't so much about speed. It's about waiting in a corner for your aiming reticle to shrink small enough to actually hit your targets. Without training, this takes about a year. With training, this still takes about a year. For this reason, the stealthy approach is much more satisfying. You peek out behind corners, and then you shoot people with tranquilizer darts, and then you run away as they scream and pass out.
By the way, did you see what happened to the soldier we sent into the statue? He turned up unconscious.
No, sir. Friendly fire?
Not so friendly, I'm afraid.
This game has so much fucking contextual dialogue, and like your choices actually influence your relationship with other characters. It's so fucking good.
I have opened an investigation. Dismissed.
Just be careful, because sound travels in this game, and if you accidentally drop a soy packet on the ground, the seismic tremors it creates will set off every alarm on the level. For more lethal solutions, you could just use a gun, but what's the fun in that? As a nano-augmented god, you can crush people by the sheer weight of your thighs. JC Thick Denton fills his victims with terror in their last breathing moments. There's plenty of other augmentations you can install, which take up mutually exclusive slots on the body. No matter what you pick, they're all pretty useful, and upgrading them only makes their powers...
I have never used the fucking drone ever in any of my playthroughs, I think.
more ridiculous. Throughout the story, you go to a variety of locations and speak to a huge number of people. Even unimportant side characters usually have several lines each, and the dialogue itself is fantastic.
I heard that he was a frequent visitor to this compound. Do you know him?
The Romulus path is closed to Guilos.
JC's perpetual autism also adds to the mood of the game. He's so deadpan and emotionless that he turns serious conversation into unintentional black comedy.
What a shame. Yep,
What a
classic.
shame.
He can't really be.
What a rotten way
There
to
must be
die.
something we can do.
He was a good man. What a rotten
What a
way to
rotten
die.
way to
As the
die.
story develops and UNATCO gradually gets infiltrated by clandestine organizations, you can uncover a lot more about the plot by being inquisitive. There's a huge fuckton of lore spread throughout minor characters, computer terminals, newspapers, and books. As you learn more, you can start putting the pieces together, find out who's pulling the strings, and practice your Latin. Also, this game predicted nuclear war between India and Pakistan. They're only 1 year away from becoming a superpower. Lord help us all. Real talk, searching carefully and reading everything pays off big. It can even let you completely bypass some of the hardest fights in the game. By modern standards, Deus Ex has the graphical fidelity of blurry vintage pornography, but it is completely functional. However, if it's still an eyesore for you, you can try GMDX or the Deus Ex revision mod. They both make it very pretty. The sound is...
I never found this game to be like an eyesore or ugly by any means. It does have that obviously vintage retro look by today's standards, but that's not the problem with this game. I would argue the fucking combat is way more of a problem for anyone who would like to go back and try it, because the combat really is unlike any fucking game I have ever played. It's so weird that you have to like crouch and wait for your reticle to shrink from this size to this size, and you have to spend like 2 minutes waiting for it. It's insane.
design is great. Everything sounds clear and crisp, which makes the world feel genuine and authentic.
And I don't think the game is really good at explaining that you can master certain types of weapons like small guns, so handguns, or assault rifles or heavy weaponry. If you put points towards upgrading those in your like skill tree, let's call it. Aiming with your weapons becomes easier over time, but the game doesn't fucking explain that to you. So you will launch the game, go in with your rinky winky dinky pistol, miss every shot and uninstall because the first enemy completely wiped the floor with you.
Authentic.
Are you sure you pressed the right button?
I do not make mistakes of that kind.
Your hand might have slipped.
No, I wanted orange. It gave me lemon lime.
The machine would not make a mistake.
It's the maintenance man. He knows I like orange.
So you think the staff has some kind of plot?
Yes, they do that on purpose.
The music tracks are nice too. I sometimes keep the UNATCO conversation theme playing when I'm calling with the shareholders.
Want big giant cocks.
Deus Ex is wonderful, and it doesn't take too long to finish. It may very well be the definition of a perfect game. I give it an excellent out of however many children I tased during my playthrough.
My dad says you can't get anywhere if you can't keep a secret.
So please, give it a shot. It's very cheap and it still goes on sale from time to time. It's not for everyone. And by that I mean, if you are an illiterate, subhuman troglodyte and you've somehow managed to evade the special needs wrangler long enough to watch this video, well, firstly, that's actually very impressive, good job, but you might not enjoy this game as much. But if you are capable of having an attention span, you'll find a plot that captivates you from start to finish, with moral and ethical questions raised that leave you in a slightly higher state of being. Of course, Deus Ex takes a very extreme view of the future, but you must remember that with each day we do not question or challenge our leaders, extreme becomes absurd, absurd becomes implausible, and implausible becomes a reality.
What is it, mister? I'm really hungry.
True.
You don't look that bad. Tell me what you know about the NSF.
I knew it. Someday the NSF is going to win, and I'm gonna give them your description with your stupid shades, and they're gonna kick your ass.
As always, more videos to come, so stay tuned. It will also be much more upbeat. Don't worry. A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild generously funding and bankrolling these videos. You're all truly wonderful. Have a good one.
Okay, so Seth did not talk about how this game basically came to be, because the like writers and creators they actually scoured the very early 4chan to look for like the most out there conspiracy theories ever, and basically made a plot of the game around those findings on 4chan. And there are many conversations in the game you can have which they basically predicted so much of today's state of economy and society. Looking back on it, it's really scary to me. I think the conversation with the guy in the Statue of Liberty that Seth put in this video where he knocked out the guard. I think there's one conversation where the guy says something about companies having absolute monopoly on everything, and he brings up the fact that this many years ago there were this many companies like at the top with these many shares. And he explains that as time went on, there are now fewer companies at the top with more shares in the market, and that basically the absolute top of the economy is becoming more and more monopolized by a couple of big companies that own everything. This was somehow a fucking conspiracy theory back in the day when they made Deus Ex. Now it's a complete reality. Just look at how many Disney owns, Nestle, in the fucking in the food sector. Like every single year another like prophecy of Deus Ex becomes a reality, and yeah, a lot of the dialogue and conversation from Deus Ex really resonates today. I'm not going to say everything came true. There are some ideas presented by Deus Ex that were completely just conspiracy theories that did not come to fruition, but they did hit more shots than they missed. So also yeah, this ties into what I said at the beginning of the video. Taking 4chan conspiracy theories and crafting a game around them is such a risky fucking idea for a video game maker or any brand. And companies just do not commit to such risks anymore. Only indie game developers put out consistently quality products that are challenging the way you perceive games. Cruelty Squad, again, is one of the worst looking games I have ever seen, and it's beautiful because of it, because it's just so unique in its art style, even if it's just fucking vomit.
How are the drinks here? Great, if you like red piece. Never tried it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's ever getting a remake. It's the contents would be considered too risky for some members of society. If you really look closely, those members happen to be near the top of the pyramid for some reason. Curious how that happens. But yeah, that's everything from me today. Thank you very much for watching, and look forward to some more Seth reactions, and as I announced before, probably going to react to some Mandalore. And since I'm soon going to be quitting my job and going full-time into this, at least for some time, I will be putting out more content and more varied content. I will, next to the Seth reactions, I will be putting out some more original content and reactions to other YouTubers, so look forward to that, and thank you very much for watching. I would truly not be here if it wasn't for you.